Good afternoon, everyone. This is Professor Hill. This is a short video for our class, Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306, here at St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas, for the Maymester. Today is Friday, the 20th of May, 2022, and I'm just giving us a quick update because we're having a few problems, not least of which is apparently the YouTube community. They're letting us know that apparently live broadcasts like this are being converted to private for some reason. It looks like they think they have the problem solved, and now they're going backwards and redoing the ones which were automatically set to private and locked. They're unlocking them and then letting us, the content providers, set the privacy level, the visibility. I just set mine all at open, so it's not a big secret. Anyway, it turns out that it looks like that somehow impacted yesterday. Students were getting the announcement, clicking on the video from yesterday, which was number 6 for Thursday, the 19th of May. And then it was taking them and just said, hey, sorry, you don't have permission to see this. So I was getting feedback from students. They're saying, hey, what's going on? And so now YouTube is saying that they're fixing it. So hopefully, that's a good update. Hopefully it will be fixed here shortly. And then I can just redo the settings. Okay, so we're trying to get the settings on the YouTube videos sorted out. Hopefully that'll happen soon. In the meantime, I did want to say, look, it's Friday. Couple of quick things. One, if you don't have your book, let me know. I can help you. I keep saying that, and I can. So let me know if you need help. If you've got a book, great. If it's, arrived this morning and you're reading chapter 1, great. Don't forget, it's this Sunday night. It's the end of the weekend, midnight Sunday, and we need to turn in that first essay. So we're going to write those essays. It's the first thing we do when we go to the discussion is to put in the essay and then poke around and look at a couple of other essays from your classmates and comment on at least 2 of them. That's right. So, so that's this weekend, Sunday night, deadline, midnight. We want to have that done. And of course, you got to have your book so you can read chapter 1 before you write your essay. You got to do things in order. It makes a big difference. So, the Jenny Lake case, that's what we're talking about this Sunday night. And as I mentioned over the past couple of days, this is a difficult, terrible, tragic story, but it's a real life story. This is not a hypothetical. This was a young lady faced with these difficult ethical issues and had to make some difficult choices. So she did do that. And now we got to make some judgments about that. Did you think it was the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do? Interestingly, by the way, there's 2 things I want to mention today. One of which is when I teach this class online, like you're taking it, students see the whole case study. They read through and they see what happened. They know the outcome and feel bad for Jenny because, again, this is a terrible story. It was just always going to end badly from the very beginning. And it does. So they feel bad for Jenny, the situation she was in. And now it wasn't like she's not deserved this. She was a good kid. And so they kind of, from the beginning, from the reading of the story, say, look, she made the right decision and she sacrificed herself for her child. That's noble. It was good of her to do this. They see, a picture of the healthy baby. I mean, so they know that at least the outcome was that one of them survived, little baby Chad Michael. And so they kind of just, the majority, typically 2/3 or more, will say she did the right thing. 2/3 to 3/4. But interestingly enough, when I teach this in class, in a face-to-face class, like in, before the pandemic, I'm in a classroom with students, and it doesn't matter how big the class is. If I'm telling them the story and they don't know anything about it ahead of time, and I say, look, this is what happened. She started to get sick. She goes to the doctor. She starts chemotherapy. And then she finds out she's pregnant. She's faced with this choice. If I then stop it right there at the point of decision making, and I ask the students, I say, break into small groups, talk about it, let me know what you think. When I teach it like that, it's the flip, meaning that 2/3 to 3/4 of them say, before knowing the outcome, they say, look, she's young. She needs to fight for herself. This is, again, it's not her fault, but this is the life-saving therapy she needs. It's going to have this tragic consequence. It's going to end the pregnancy, but she and her boyfriend are young. They could have other kids if they wanted to start a family later, but she's got to be alive first. She needs to fight. And they all, not all, the vast majority, 2/3 to 3/4, come down on the side of she needs to continue her treatment. That's very interesting, by the way, and it's gonna underscore a lot about ethical decision making, especially when we get to consequentialism, when we're trying to weigh and balance the outcome, the consequences of our decisions, and using that to determine what's the right thing to do. Um, one of the fallacies there is that we can know the future when really we can't. Now we have to make educated guesses. We have to look at probability. We have to figure out what are the odds. But I do think it's fascinating that there is this kind of emotional, psychological aspect to handling the case the way you are as a group, knowing, meaning that you know the outcome from the very beginning before you have to make a decision retroactively about is what she did right or wrong. And now let's come back to the second major thing that I want to say today, which is this piece I mentioned yesterday about the decision maker. Oh, I mentioned it yesterday, but you probably haven't seen it because YouTube locked that video up. Anyway, okay, so yesterday I mentioned that um, we have to always identify in case studies who is making the decision, who's the decision maker, um, whose call is it? And in this case, here's Jenny at the center of all this. She's the one who's sick. She's the one who's pregnant. And she's getting advice. She's talking to her boyfriend. She's talking to her mom. She's talking to all the doctors. She's trying to figure out what to do. And what happens in this case is that Jenny says, I want to stop my treatment and try to allow this pregnancy to go full term. Now, what's interesting about that is she then says this to her mother, and the mother says, yes, I agree. But it's not like it was Jenny's decision and the mom was just agreeing with Jenny's decision. The fact of the matter is, Jenny's 17 years old. She's a minor. She doesn't have the legal capacity to be making these life and death decisions. Her parents do. And her mother essentially is the decision maker as the adult who's in charge of and is caring for her minor child. Now, she kind of phrases it as, I agree with you. Yes, that's fine. I'm kind of ratifying your decision. But really, it's the mom getting what Jenny's wishes are, but then making the decision. That's an important distinction because we're trying to look at, again, like I said, kind of retroactively, was this the right decision, bad decision? What makes it moral or immoral? What makes it ethically acceptable or unacceptable? We really have to be judging the mom's decision. This is complicated. It's really complicated when we look tomorrow at another similar case about a 17-year-old girl who's diagnosed with cancer, who stops her treatment. Uh, and we'll do a little compare and contrast tomorrow. The main thing I want to say here was, and again, I want to mention this because some students, they say to me, especially when we're in class and we're doing the rough and tumble of a dialogue, they'll say, now, hold on a minute. If she's 17 and pregnant, it's going to be her call. And I'm like, well, no, here's the thing about that. If, let's say, let's play this out to where Jenny wanted to stop the treatment and her mom didn't, and there was a conflict, the doctors would defer to the mom. Now, what Jenny could do is say, look, to heck with that. I'm an adult. I should make my own decisions. She could actually get a lawyer. She could try to get a court order from a judge emancipating her from her parents' control. And certainly, specifically for the courts are actually more willing to entertain something that's limited as opposed to a general emancipation. She went in and asked for control for this one particular medical issue. The judge would probably hear the case and would take what they call the totality of the circumstances, meaning they're going to look at all the factors. And being pregnant would be a major factor in this situation. It's not an automatic thing. Some people somehow have got in their heads that, well, once you become pregnant, then you're an adult. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. But it would be a significant, serious, major factor in a judge's determination of whether or not a minor seeking emancipation from parents, whether that request should be granted or not. And so let's say that in this case it was granted by the court, then it would shift from the parent to Jenny, at least for that particular medical decision. And she would have control, and the doctors then would follow her decision and not that of the parents. So we got to be clear about this. And again, it's a major issue because, man, turning 18 is a big deal. There's exceptions, legal exceptions, court granted exceptions. But before that, you're a minor, and after that, you're an adult, and it's just night and day. But it's like, and it's not just dramatic, important things like this one. Lots of times it's a little thing. My mother used to live on a farm outside of Fort Worth, and my grandfather decided, look, you should get a driver's license and drive yourself to school and take all of your other younger brothers and sisters to school. And my mother's response was, I can't get a driver's license. I'm only 14 years old. And he's like, we'll go to a court. So I swear to God, they went down to a local judge, and the judge, and my grandfather says to the judge, hey, she's only 14 years old, but she needs a driver's license. Would you give her permission to do that? And he looks at all the factors. And so he interviews her, tries to determine her level of maturity, responsibleness. What are the factors? Why does she need a license? Is it really something for which he should grant an exception? And they did. So she got a driver's license at 14 and started driving herself and the little kids to school. Again, it wasn't an automatic thing like in this situation. And so when we're looking at not just the legalities of who is going to be making the decision, the doctor is going to follow it, but also who bears the moral responsibility, who bears the ethical choice, then that very heavy responsibility in this situation. It is indeed a life and death choice of who lives and who dies. It's a staggering case. So listen, that's what I want to say about the case today. Those two big things. Well, I'll talk some more tomorrow about the Jenny Lake case, compare and contrast it to another one, and we'll all be doing this because we've read chapter 1, and we're thinking about and writing our essays for Sunday night. If you have any questions, send me a message. Take care. Good luck. Keep reading and thinking.